Hello once again, my friends, my fellow historians, and my fellow lovers of the RMS Titanic. I'd like to welcome you to another video, and as we continue the 114th commemoration, the anniversary of the sinking of the RMS Titanic, today we're going to look at a book, and we're going to do a book review, and this has got a lot of pictures. You're in for a real treat. This book is actually titled The RMS Titanic in Photographs, and it's got a foreword by Ken Marschall, and it's got some fantastic pictures. So sit back and relax, and I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so today we're going to take a look at the Titanic in photographs. This is by Daniel Klistorner and Steve Hall. Bruce Beveridge, Art Braunschweiger, and Scott Andrews, and we have a foreword by Ken Marschall. You can see one of the spectacular pictures of the ship on the cover. So I'm not going to read the book to you. It would take forever, but there are some points of interest that I want to go through with you and show you some of these magnificent photographs. Look at that picture. Just amazing. So again, this is Titanic in photographs. So a little bit of information on the book itself. By the way, that's my favorite picture ever of Titanic. She's pulling into Southampton. Well, you can see I'm very fond of that picture. So this book was first published in 2011 by the History Press. And it was reprinted in 2012, so this is the 2012 copy. And looking over to the contents now, you can see we have the foreword, and again that's by Ken Marschall. We have the acknowledgments, the introduction, and then we go into chapters. So we get chapter 1, the owners and the builders. Chapter 2 is the construction and the launch. Chapter 3 is the fitting out and sea trials. Chapter 4, the preparations and voyage. Chapter 5, the tragedy and rescue. And finally, we have the afterword. And again, I don't want to read the whole book to you because it's going to take too long, but there are things that I want to point out to you. So this is the foreword, and this is by Ken Marschall. Incidentally, I love this picture. This is the last photo of Titanic taken. It was taken by Kate Odell, departing Queenstown, and this was April 11th of 1912. And you can see the 11-year-old Jack Odell aboard Titanic with his Kodak folding pocket camera slung across his shoulder. You see those two pictures. So, because it is Ken Marschall, if you don't know who Ken Marschall is, he's done fantastic paintings of Titanic where they actually look lifelike. And he's been in so many Titanic books. So I'm just going to read the foreword to you. It's like Christmas. There's something magical and indescribably evocative for me about seeing the new photograph of Titanic for the first time. Or even more thrilling, holding a first-generation print in my hands. It's a window to the ship herself. Her brief life makes the photographs all the more rare and significant. If it weren't for two enterprising shutterbugs, Kate Odell and Frank Brown, we would have absolutely no picture showing what it was like to be on board when Titanic was in motion. Brown's photos were published at the time, but Odell's were quietly secreted away. I remember my excitement in 1987 when I first learned of the Odell pictures. I was working on the book The Discovery of the Titanic by Robert Ballard. Great book, by the way. And it was only weeks before it was scheduled to go to press. The owner of the photographs agreed to several of them being published, and at great expense, the whole section of the book was completely redesigned at the last minute to accommodate and showcase the stunning new images. That's how important they were, how immersible they added to the mega Titanic photographic canon. As an artist, perfectionist, I'm bent on accuracy and detail. attributes to me that happen to define the very essence of photography. Not surprisingly, photographs of Titanic had been my primary research tool since my first commission to paint the liner in the late 1960s. All these years later, I'm still asked to paint the ship, and my work finds me going through files and checking images almost daily. Historical, or as I call them, archival photographs are invaluable to the serious artist such as myself. No less to any dedicated modeler. They are the final word. A photograph cannot be wrong. It doesn't lie, exaggerate, purposely omit information, or have faulty memory. Even original plans of the ship drawn by the shipbuilders themselves should not be taken literally without careful comparison with the photographic record, where subtle and sometimes gross differences quickly become apparent, and my mantra, always study the photographs. If it were not for the photography, we would never know about the subtle changes made to Titanic's appearance between Belfast and Southampton. In a few hours between Southampton and Cherbourg, and even between Cherbourg and Queenstown, in doing the research for the painting showing Titanic departing the site of her final anchorage, it was interesting to notice the starboard anchor raised a little bit higher in each successive photograph, and how people move about on the deck. Comparing Titanic's configuration from one day to the next, or even 1 minute to the next. It was a fascinating game of discovery and surprise, all made possible because of this photographic record. Titanic photos range from the finest, highest resolution glass plate negative taken by Robert Welch at Harland and Wolff, or by Frank Beacon from a small boat off the Isle of Wight, to the coarse, half-tone pictures found in newspapers at the time, to these low-quality newsprint reproductions in its original clear prints or negatives that are important and, sadly, in all too many cases, lost to history. The search for them will forever be ongoing. Only through finding them can a full resolution of the original photographs be revealed. Stereo photography was old hat by 1912, but even though 3D views were taken of our contemporary liners, none had surfaced for Titanic. At least none that was intentional. A few wonderful stereo views of the ship can be created if one combines two photographs that happen to have to take adjacent to each other at the moment apart. I often hear the cynical sentiment that Titanic has been beaten to death, that not only have we learned all we could possibly learn about the ship, her people, and the wreck, but surely we have seen the last photograph of her. Never mind that dedicated sleuths occasionally uncover new information about her history. Passengers and crew and every explanation of the record reveals fresh, previously unknown details about her findings, structure, and fittings. But what about the vintage photos? Have we seen the last of them? Some 40 years ago, I held a notion that, unlike other liners, at least gathering together all Titanic pictures could be a manageable goal. Her short life, I thought, allowed for a few finite number of images, and in time I would actually attain the complete set. Today I only can chuckle at my youthful naivety. New photographs surface and surprise us almost yearly, and there is no reason to believe that there won't be more going forward. A fantastic board of priceless autochrome images could easily turn up one day, giving us history's first known color photos of Titanic. Or perhaps it will be the set of black and white negatives taken inside, say, the first-class smoking room, each shot from the same spot through a different deeply colored red, blue, or yellow filter. When combined, it would be commonly done for published still lifes at the time, it would create a stunning full-color view of Titanic. A comprehensive book dedicated to Titanic's photographic record is something I thought about compiling myself for many years. The authors has risen to the challenge and tackled the job admirably, filling in conspicuous void the libraries of every Titanic buff. There can be no more appropriate time for such volumes to debut than the eve of the centennial of history's most well-known maiden voyage. May these photographic detectives continue their quest for ever-clear prints and images, to find lost original negatives, or even better, all new pictures that will inform us and inspire generations of Titanic researchers and devotees to come. And that was written by Ken Marschall in July of 2011. And then it goes into the acknowledgments, and then we go into the introduction, and look at that beautiful photograph. Titanic departing for her sea trials. This is April 2nd of 1912. Then we go into the owners and the builders. And of course she was built at Harland and Wolff shipyards. An advertisement from 1911 proudly announces Harland and Wolff's achievements and shows that the firm had even expanded to have a small shipyard in Southampton, primarily used for carrying out repairs. So, prior to the Titanic, we're looking right here at a picture of the Oceanic. The Oceanic in 1899 was the largest vessel ever built, and the first to exceed the length of the Great Eastern of 1858. And up until that moment, the Great Eastern had been the largest object ever made by man. Then came the Oceanic, and eventually the R.M.S. Titanic, Olympic, and Britannic. And it's going through the planning phase, and then we get to the construction. And look at that photo. An interior view of the machine shop in the North Platers shed. This building was situated with a wedge-shaped space between the aerial gantry and the river Lagan, immediately adjacent to the head of number 3 slip where Titanic was built. And this book just has some amazing photos. All right, this is the main drawing office at Harland and Wolff around 1908. You can see the Titanic, the picture over there. And then we have the blueprint. Then we go to the mold loft at Harland and Wolff. Look at the size of that. And over here we got the plater sheds. That's just amazing photos. And on the top, that's the Olympic, yard number 400. Shortly after on Titanic, yard number 401 at Harland and Wolff. And this, one of the machinery bays on the ground floor of the North Yard. Look at this awesome photo. This is an overall view showing both the ground and the upper floors of the North Yard joiner's shop. And this is a really cool photograph. That's the propeller blades. The photo shows parts of the outside storage yard of the brass and iron foundries. The yard is filled with a garden of raw propeller blades cast in bronze, steel, or iron. And this is the interior of the fitters shop. And look at this huge gantry. This was from Wednesday, March 31st of 1909. And the day's Titanic first keel plate was laid. So these were taken in July of 1909. And it's Olympic's double bottom with Titanic's double bottom seen in the adjoining slip. And look at that. These photos are just amazing. Look at the gantry. You can see the little sign that says Titanic. And this is Wednesday, April 6th of 1910. Titanic's last frame was lifted in position. These photos, taken on April 7th, record the stage of her construction for posterity. Plating of some of the fully framed areas had already begun in the stern. And again, this is July of 1910. This is Olympic's plated hull as seen to the right, with Titanic's frame seen to the left. That's just such a cool picture. And again, you can see them in the gantry, Olympic and Titanic. Olympic's hull is freshly painted as seen here a week or two before her launch. And again, you can see the painted Olympic. So the crowd's gathering in the morning of October 20th of 1910 to witness Olympic's launch, while Titanic stands proudly in her adjoining slip, her hull having been fully plated only the day before. In part of the chain workshop at Noah, Hingley & Sons Limited of Netherton, Dudley, photo shows a section of the anchor chain for Titanic's two side anchors. Look at that. And this is from April 29th of 1911. Look at the size of that anchor. And again with the anchor chain. And look at this. Look at the team of horses that they need to take the anchor there. This is from the morning of April 30th of 1911. The original lineup of 8 Shire horses can clearly be seen along with their guides. It was a 2-mile journey to get the anchor to the ship. You can see the horses, and this is a cool picture of the journey as well. Look at the anchor that's on that wagon. Now we got the freshly painted Titanic as seen here a week before her launch. And then Titanic's stern prior to her launch, and an image showing the coffee dam at the end of the slipway prior to the removal. And then look, you can see the fitting for the propeller shaft. And this is the great gantries of Harland and Wolff dominating the Belfast skyline. That's just amazing. So we're looking at the fitting out wharf. So this is a really great picture. This is from May 29th of 1911. And look, this is when Olympic was being towed out on her way to her sea trials. Again, you can see the gantry, the Titanic in the background. And that's an iconic photo of her. Titanic stands proudly awaiting her launch. And this is Titanic's stern prior to her launch. Can you imagine seeing that? From an early hour, large numbers of people began to gather in the yard. At about noon, all vacant spaces around Titanic were occupied by spectators. And this is from just before 12:15 p.m. Privileged guests have taken their places, and only a short time prior, the Gaslow Herald reported that the weather was magnificent for the launch of R.M.S. Titanic. And now we go into her launch. So these are some awesome pictures. It was customary for White Star Line ships. There was no launch ceremony with the usual bottle of champagne broken over the bow. They just builds them and shoves them in, said a Harland and Wolff employee. With the releasing of the launch triggers, a huge hydraulic ram initiated a push to begin the hull slide down the ways and into the water. And you can see the launch of SS Titanic, May 31st of 1911. These photographs were taken from across the river as spectators observed Titanic taking to the water for the first time. Simply amazing. I'm looking at all these amazing photos. A succession of images showing Titanic as she slid into the water stern first. Celebratory whistles echoed through Belfast air from the ships witnessing the event as the vessel settled gracefully into the water. The river Lagan, anchored in Belfast, Lough. In the distance, Olympic also blew her whistles. And this is by 12:16 p.m. Titanic was afloat. Her launch had taken 62 seconds, exactly the same time as Olympic. And these pictures are just amazing. Look at that picture. There are no smokestacks. Look at the wheelhouse isn't even there yet. Photo is a snapshot capturing Harlan and Wolff's photographers at work. They can be seen extreme right of the image. You can see how just fantastic these pictures are. As soon as Titanic came to a stop, the boats and tugs surrounded the waters around the ship. Smaller boats were mainly craft from the shipyard, charged with collecting the flotsam and the launch cradles. And again, look at that picture. Just amazing. And another sign, the launch of Titanic. Next, we go to the fitting out and sea trials. And look at that beautiful picture of the stern. So interestingly, look at the advertisement. This is for the Waygood, the lifts on the liners. 3 of the 8 Waygood lifts on the White Star liner SS Olympic, the largest vessel in service, of course, at the time. And this is the Cunard line, the way to go. This is Waygood lifts on liners, an advertisement from, it doesn't give a date specifically on this. Here's an amazing photograph. Look at that. Olympic and Titanic were designed with an extensive array of electricity or electrically operated equipment. The electrical supply required to operate these floating cities was supplied by 4 400 kilowatt, 100 volt DC steam operated generators. As a reserve, there were 2 30 kilowatt emergency generators which were situated on D deck. Each liner had more than 200 miles of cable installed to run power to the large assortment of electrical machinery, equipment, winches and cranes, electric heaters, galley appliances, telephone switchboards, elevators, telegraphs, fans, and ventilators, plus dozens of other electrically operated devices. Also fitted aboard the ships were more than 1,500 electric bell pushes or service buttons, 48 clocks, which could be adjusted simultaneously by 2 master clocks located in the chart room. Titanic was very much an electric ship despite hers powered by steam. Look at that picture. So this is one of the most famous pictures. We see this all the time, and it's got the boilers in it. This is Olympic and Titanic's boilers were manufactured almost simultaneously. The priority given to those boilers intended for the first ship to be completed. Here we see in a boiler shed, most likely intended for the Olympic. And then we look over at the engines now. These are amazing photos. These images show Titanic's engines in the Engine Works erecting shop at Harlan & Wolff around July of 1911. By the end of the month, all the heavy machinery, including the engines, would be in place within the hull. Each of these engines developed 15,000 indicated horsepower at 75 RPM. The low-pressure turbine developed approximately 16,000 shaft horsepower at 165 RPM. And these are Titanic's main feed filters. before being returned to the boilers to be reheated into steam again. The feed filters removed the grease, lubricating oil, and other hard contaminants that had been picked up by the condensed steam during the passage through the machinery and piping. This is an absolutely gorgeous picture. Look at that picture. She's only got 3 funnels. The promenade is all opened all the way down. This is taken in December of 1911 and shows Titanic with 3 funnels in position. Shortly thereafter, the White Star began issuing first-class accommodation plans using discussion and prospective passengers while booking passage. And look at the smokestack. This is Olympic's 4th funnel leaving the workshop. Just look at the size of that thing. So this is January of 1912 at the fitting out wharf. She's got her funnels on. You can see the wheelhouse that's been put on, the guy lines and the rigging. So I wanted to show you guys also, this is the lifeboat davits. So look at that. This is a picture that shows 16 sets of Titanic's davits being transported to the works from the Wien Davit and Engineering Company. And it shows you a really nice picture of the way they looked when they were installed on the ship. And you can see them being installed via the crane. So this is the morning of February 3rd, 1912. As she enters dry dock for the first time. So these images were taken by Cork Examiner photographer Thomas Barker. This is February 8th of 1912. That's just a gorgeous picture. And look at the straking, the plates. And this was taken, this is February 14th, Valentine's Day of 1912. Look at the size of that. So this is when she's in dry dock, and look at the straking, the plates. And you can see pictures of Titanic and Olympic. The sisters are side by side. That must have been a spectacular sight. Olympic's stay at Harland and Wolff on this occasion was intended to be brief. Seen here at dry dock March 3rd of 1912, Titanic in the background and to the right. And in 2 weeks since Titanic was taken out of the dry dock, painted, and her hull has begun. Painting on her hull has begun. Just gorgeous pictures. Look at that. So we look at the private promenade. We got the gymnasium. And this is the fitting out in the first class stateroom. This is B58. And then on the bottom, we got the adjoining stateroom B60 in Queen Anne style. We got the first class stateroom B64. And then the first class stateroom B57 at the far left, and B63 to the right with a modern Dutch style. You know, I can't help but notice how small and short the beds are. I'm a pretty big guy, pretty tall, and those beds, I bet you I bet you my feet would be out hanging out here somewhere through the little openings. Arguably among the most impressive first-class staterooms aboard Titanic, this is B-59. Beautiful. Let's see, we see a picture now of the first-class a la carte restaurant. And these pictures are when she's heading out for her sea trials. We go into the preparations and the voyage, and I love the way she looks when she's dressed up in all her pennants. So these images, another one with the pennants, I love it. So these pictures, 3 of the images of Titanic's upper decks. They worked to prepare the ship for sailing day, had begun, and crates can be seen at the aft well deck, the bottom image, awaiting distribution. So these are just amazing pictures. So views of Titanic from across the harbor, and this is when she's in Southampton. Look at that picture. And we look at some of the interiors again. We see the gymnasium, and then we look at the swimming pool. Titanic swimming bath. This is April 9th of 1912. And then you can see the Turkish bath. Absolutely gorgeous. And another picture of the pool. This is a nice view of Titanic's bridge. And then you can see the advertisement, White Star Line, the largest and finest steamers in the world, Olympic and Titanic, 45,000 tons each. And then it goes into the interiors, and these were illustrations that were taken from the travel brochures at the time. And I want to get to the the real photographs. Okay, so again we have the private promenade suites. This is the private promenade suite B51 through 53 and 55. And this is from April 10th of 1912. And look at this beautiful room. This is the sitting room from B51 private suite. And this is the, let's see, the private, the promenade deck near the aft left grand staircase. And this is gorgeous. Look at this smoke room. This was the non-smoking side of the 2 cafes. And then again we see the promenade deck. And this is, look at this. Look how beautiful that is. This is the Cafe Parisian. Just absolutely beautiful. And this is first class stateroom B59. And again, someone of my size, probably squished up in that bed. I feel bad if my wife was with me on this voyage. Again, my feet would probably be hanging out to here. And let's see, this is B59 and B57. And then the photographs of Captain Smith. And this is a nice picture. We have a photograph of the navigation bridge, but this is the Titanic's sister ship, Olympic. But both ships were nearly identical. And that brings us to a picture of the beautiful grand staircase. So no photographs of Titanic's grand staircase are known to exist. This photo is of Olympic. So if you guys see any pictures and they claim this grand staircase of Titanic, they're not. And this is the, these are the elevator lifts. Look, you can see a chair in the center one. This is a nice photograph of looking at Titanic's plating and the straking. The boarding just after 11:30 a.m. and this is Father Brown. And he went into the second class passengers, you can see them boarding through C deck. And Father Brown got to his stateroom. This is A37. And this is a beautiful picture. Look, you can see this is Father Brown's photo of the tugboats pushing Titanic. So, another incident I want to share with you, just look at this picture. Look at the forecastle. And I think this is a Father Brown picture as well. After narrowly averting the collision, Titanic was reversed as far back to the entrance of the pier as she had been left in order to allow enough room for the tugs to maneuver the New York to a more secure location. That's just an awesome photo. So, basically, these are pictures now when she's heading off and she's just heading into history. And this is a nice picture of the promenade deck. Let's see, I think that's Captain Smith walking and inspecting. And then we have different shots on the boat deck. And again, the information in this book is just amazing. So we've got the, let's see, this is April 11th of 1912, and this is the only known photograph of Titanic's first class dining room. The only known one to exist. And then this is Titanic's Marconi room. Again, the only one known to exist. And there's so much information in this book. This is a really cool picture. Father Brown, he just happened to be looking up, and if you look, you can see Captain Smith looking off of the bridge wing. And there are just so many absolute beautiful pictures in this book. Stunning information as well. And the very last image of Titanic taken by Father Brown on April 11th of 1912. Then it goes into the tragedy, hitting the iceberg, the sinking, and the aftermath. It's just, this book, the photographs in this book are just amazing. Again, I'm not going to read the whole book to you. I wanted to show you the points of interest. And I hadn't heard about this book before, but I was very glad to get this book, to add it to my collection. When I do videos on Titanic, when I do history or talk about Titanic, I like to have different photos to show you guys. And this book is full of amazing pictures. So I'm sorry I was rambling on. I know this is going to be a long video. There was just so much to show you, and fellow Titanic lovers like me just love seeing new photographs of the Titanic. So my friends, as we honor the RMS Titanic and the 114th anniversary of her sinking, till the next video, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.